Cosmic Frequency, tuning into the awakened heart. This program is brought to you by Pranaluz Conscious Living. My name is Ana Lu and I am the founder of Pranaluz and host for the Cosmic Frequency podcasts. Our podcasts focus on three main pillars: spirituality and social and environmental awareness. Our topic today is Om and the sacred power of mantra. SREEDEVI Bringi is our guest. She's a native of South India, where she received formal training in yoga, meditation, Sanskrit, and Hindu religious and spiritual traditions. As a retired faculty member in yoga studies at Naropa University in Boulder, she often invited classes and workshops at different festivals, YTT courses, yoga centers, on diverse philosophy topics, meditation, sacred Indian texts, goddess traditions of India, Sanskrit, among others. She has been co-teaching a course for the online Hanuman Academy on the 5 elements of yoga and has presented for a few years at the Hanuman Festival, Moksha Festival, and at the Grand Valley Yoga Festival. She has also participated in several interviews and interfaith panel discussions on yoga and related topics through the Shambhala Mountain Center, Naropa University, and the Legacy Foundation, as in other spiritual religious organizations and venues. She has a graduate degree in chemistry, atmospheric sciences, and environmental education. And SREEDEVI likes to infuse scientific perspectives into the ancient Vedanta-Yoga-Tantra teachings and practices. Her prior teaching career is in chemistry and science education. In a newly published textbook entitled Beacons of Dharma, SREEDEVI has written an invited chapter about Amma, the charismatic hugging saint of India, including the 3 paths of yoga and the Shakti principle. I had the honor to have her as a teacher during my studies at Naropa University. Hello, SREEDEVI, how are you?
Oh, very good. Thank you. Ana Lucia, I'm so happy to be in this podcast with you and to reacquaint ourselves with each other since you were a Naropa student. I'm so happy for us to connect again.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, of course, and such a pleasure to connect with you again. I was mentioning when talking to you before, I felt so inspired when I was at Naropa, when I took your Sacred Sound and Hinduism course, and I couldn't think of anybody else to speak more about this topic than you. I've been so inspired by your work throughout my Bhakti path and everything that I've been sharing. So very happy to have you in this conversation today.
I'm equally happy to be here, and my mission at this point is to quicken the transmission that is possible through me as a channel of the Indian heritage and the deeper teachings on yoga, on Sanskrit, on Tantra, that people who are yoga practitioners or those who are in the Eastern path in any way, including the music, the mantras, the kirtan, raga, bhajan, whatever it be that is catching on in the West in such a big way. How can those of us from India, with the background and with training, be available and help to assist to bring more of the authentic trend and guide in this journey where we are all rising together.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. And you're such an instrument, like a bridge, like you said, between the East and the West. So I really appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge and taking the time to share, like you have been for all this many, many years at Naropa and with many other students all over the place. And well, perhaps I wanted to talk to you a little bit to begin with, if you want to share with us what have inspired you to come into this path.
Oh, I have not made any attempt to come into the path. I was born into this path. So I come from a family lineage of spiritual teachers, scientists, as well as yogis. And so on my mother's side, my granduncle, that is my grandfather's eldest brother, was a very famous Sanskrit scholar and used to was a guest at the king of Mysore's court at around the same time when Sri Krishnamacharya was developing modern postural yoga.
Wow.
So our family, my mother and sisters, they were all the first generation of women receiving the yoga teachings in the home from their male elders. And so growing up as a little girl in that, right from the 60s for me. So I've never had to go outside of my heritage to find this path. This is what I have been born into, but also what I have claimed as my spiritual path in my later years, particularly, after having come to America as a graduate student in the environmental sciences and my specialty background more in chemistry. So bringing a strong scientific perspective as well, which is, very common in the Brahmin communities in India and those who come here from the Brahmin communities and become, computer scientists or, doctors and engineers and so on. Yeah, I was one of the few women who came in the mid-70s by myself and was immediately asked in Columbus, Ohio to start teaching a little Sanskrit there was a Kundalini Yoga ashram and there was a Sai Baba center. And I was doing yoga at home, so I was happy to open my home to those who wanted to come into yoga and do satsang with us and to sing every week. And I thought nothing much of it. I'm sharing our heritage. So
yeah, such a blessing.
Yeah, but I see that there has been a quickening on the path of yoga and the kirtan traditions in the West, which include, of course, the Americas. So there's even more of a responsibility now for people like me who have a strong and rich background and have been teaching this. I'm probably one of the few Indians who shifted professionally from, the teaching of chemistry to honor Naropa's invitation to me to come and start the Hinduism program and then expand the yoga program, which was really, all in the mid-2000s. And the explosion of interest in yoga all over the West has therefore brought a greater need for teachers like me to step up and offer more. So that's really why I'm here.
Thank you for your service and your beautiful dharma in sharing all this beautiful sacred knowledge with us. I feel so inspired by you, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation today. And perhaps maybe we can begin with the beautiful sacred sound of Om. So if you want to share with us, which is so important for all practitioners and yoga teachers, and I would like to ask you to share with us a little bit about your vision of Om and how that also links with the yogic liberation.
Yes. Well, I think it's best to just start by chanting a little Om.
That would be amazing.
I'm going to put my instrument on here. This is a digital tambura in the background, and to give us the tonic notes.
Thank you.
And we're going to go through the component sounds of Om. Om is the reverberation of the ultimate reality expressed through sound. So Om can be viewed as a sonic metaphor of ultimate reality. And the equivalent of Om as a word is the word pranava. And in yoga, especially in the Yoga Sutras, this word is very prominent. Pranava, the ultimate reality, whose cosmic body is Om. And pranava then is the ultimate reality expressed and felt through the life force, prana. So you have prana, ultimate reality. You have Om as sound, ultimate reality. So it's important to remember that both pranava and Om are interlinked entities. One coming through vibration and resonance and nada, or the inner sound current of Om, and pranava coming through the awareness of breath and life force and consciousness of oneself through breath. Om has three composite sounds: A, U, and And A stands for the energy of creation, waking up, It's the waking consciousness, and we use our diaphragm and we push the breath, and the volume of our voice is, very strong in the back of the throat, moving up to the whole Kundalini channel, really. And oo is the sound of preservation, maintaining the universe, maintaining reality. And for oo, we move the sound through the whole mouth, from the back of the throat to the lips, which are rounded. And it's the dreaming state of awareness, where we are somewhat aware that we are here on a spiritual path and somewhat not aware. And then we have the sound of dissolution, where the lips come together. And the lips, two lips represent the duality, normal dualistic consciousness. But when they come together, then that's the dissolution of duality, going back to the source. So the three sounds, represent the three forces of the universe: creation, preservation, dissolution. And the three states of awareness. The Upanishads speak of the waking state, the dreaming state, and the deep sleep state. In deep sleep, we don't have a sense of separate self, but we are unconscious of it. And then the Om, the transcendental sound, which is waking up to our true nature. That is the liberated Atman. And so now we're going to chant it. And to be completely conscious of how the breath is being used, how the volume is controlled, how our awareness is very sensitive to the sensations within the mouth, the position of the tongue, the position of the lips, how we send our awareness, in the waking state. That means send the awareness right from the belly, moving up all the way from the root chakra, bringing the energy up to the throat chakra. And then for the oo, emptying out that sound right at the throat chakra, moving it forward and outward. It's maintaining awareness, maintaining consciousness, maintaining the reality of our existence. So everything moves outward from within. And then with taking that resonant, deep nasal sound back inside the body, into the head, and resonating through the whole human temple of sound. So these three sounds, ah, oo, and and the transcendental composite sound of Om, which combines the ah, oo, and becomes a sonic metaphor for the three states of awareness: sleeping, waking, and dreaming, and transcending those three to be the true nature of our being, to be that yogic liberated self, to be that Purusha, to be that Atman. That is also represented in yoga by the word pranava. So pranava, as the cosmic reality, the ultimate deity principle that is consciously made aware within us through our breath, the life force and awareness. Pranava is a combination of two sounds, pra and anu. So pra is the profusion, the multiplicity how that one vibration, that is the source vibration, multiplies into language, into concepts, into frameworks, into theologies, and Anu, the oneness. So that oneness, pranava, in the Yoga Sutras too, Patanjali then links pranava to Om, and he says Om is the cosmic sound body of the deity Pranava. And as Ishvara Pranidhana in yoga, bowing to that ultimate reality, offering surrender and bhakti to that ultimate indwelling presence to all consciousness, that was called Pranava in the ancient days, from the Vedas through the Upanishads. So Om and Pranava are linked. Om is cosmic sound and Pranava is cosmic breath, the awareness of the ultimate through conscious breath.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you, Sridevi. Thank you for that beautifully said and beautifully felt. I felt it when we were chanting, and thanks for that clarification as well. And perhaps, since I am so inspired to this bhakti path and kirtan path and mantra and the power of mantra, I would love you to share with us a little bit about mantra and how the mantras serve as instruments to connect with the divine.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, when we speak of mantra, we also have to speak of tantra to begin with. Tantra is then the teachings, the theology that underlie the whole tradition of what makes a mantra sacred for honoring a deity or honoring the cosmic geometry of a deity that we call yantra. So in Tantra, we have the devata or the deity, and we have mantra, and we have yantra, cosmic geometry. So Tantra as the cosmic web, the web within which all that is needed, the tools for practice, tools for spiritual practice are given to us within this body of knowledge and practices called Tantra. So as Shiva-Shakti Tantra, then it is the foundational basis for invoking both the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine principles to come into balance in our own being and within all reality. So mantra is part of all of that. As mantra, it is the extension of the self mentally through sound. So manu is a short for manas, which in yoga cosmology is our mind. And so tra can be viewed as an extension, as an expansion. So in all of Tantric Yoga, we are expanding or extending our small sense of self to expand and become the universe. Tantra provides us with sacred links, practices that give us these links, these connections. And mantra is one such powerful sacred link. But mantra doesn't exist on its own. Mantra is always connected as with geometry, as well as the visualization of the cosmic forms or formless. To visualize formless is also a form. And so Tantra gives us the opportunity through the power of sacred mantra. And mantra as an extension of our mental consciousness using sacred sound, it depends on the perfect articulation and using the mouth as a sacred instrument. We have 5 tongue positions in the mouth that are consciously used in Samskrita, or Sanskrit as we say in English, but Samskrita in Sanskrit, which means that which is perfectly well constructed. So a perfect coded language system that honors this sacred connection between my spiritual path and the goal of ultimate liberation, then mantra provides such a channel. And the correct enunciation using these 5 sacred positions of the tongue, such as ka, ga, ga, ka. So those are all in the back of the throat. They're called the guttural position. And then when we come to the palate, you have sounds, such as cha, ja, ja, where the tongue is flat on the palate. Those are called palatal sounds. Then you come to the third position that is called the retroflex, or the cerebral tongue position, where the tip of the tongue is striking the roof of the mouth, such as hatha, hatha yoga, ashtanga, ashtanga, da, da. Those are hard sounds. Then we go to the back of the teeth, the softer sounds, as in Spanish, da, da, na.
Yeah.
And then we come to the lips. When the lips are used consciously and the tongue is simply resting, then we have the sounds like pa, ba, ma, which use the lips. So these are the 5 sacred tongue positions which then provide the basis of all mantra in proper articulation and holding that awareness. And mantra is transmitted through what is called diksha, a process of initiation by a guru in a guru tradition to their disciples. And this is how the ancient mantras were originally received, revealed, and then transmitted. So we are fortunate in the West to have this whole bank of accessible mantras. There are bija mantras, or seed sounds, for all the chakras and for the elements, the 5 elements, like the earth element. The bija mantra is lam, lam, and that's using the tongue, right behind the teeth, and making that dental sound, la, la, la. And la is also about the bliss of the potency of our own nature, that which is lying dormant in the earth element, in the tamas guna, or in a state of potency or dormancy. So this way, these sounds, the seed sounds, are linked to the attributes of the elements of the universe, which are not only present in all creation outside of us, but are present in all creation inside of us. Tantra links the inside, who we are, on our inner being, consciously connecting it to the universal reality through this channel, this Sattvayic sound that we call mantra. There are deity mantras, such as, Kali mantra would be Om Maha Kalyai Namaha, Om Maha Kalyai Namaha. Or it can be bija mantras. The deities have bija mantras, such as Kleem is a mantra for Kali, Om Kleem Maha Kalyai Namaha, where we can combine a bija mantra with the deity mantra. Or we have the petal mantras for all of the chakras, along with the major elemental mantras. So when we move upwards from the Muladhara, or the root chakra, we move upwards from earth, water, fire, air, and space through the bodily 5 chakras. Then we use the sacred seed mantras. Lam, vam, ram, yam, hum. So lam, earth element, vam, water element, ram, fire element, yam, air element, hum, space element. And then when we rise even higher into the Agya chakra, or the third eye, into the Sahasrara, we go into Om, the mantra of complete yogic liberation.
Thank you for sharing the bija mantras of the chakras. I love teaching them, and thank you for allowing me to experience this with you. Thank you. Thank you. And how important it is. I know you've been sharing so much and teaching Sanskrit and the different positions of the tongue, which I was telling to you before, that I remember you saying that in class, the tip of the tongue, the tip of the tongue.
Yeah, these positions are in every language system, but we use them unconsciously.
Yeah.
Because, all of us learn how to speak when we are infants, completely by just hearing and watching. And so we have no idea where to put the tongue and how to make that sound consciously. So Sanskrit, being such a conscious language system, as are all of the other sacred language systems, as Arabic and Aramaic and Hebrew and Egyptian, the original, Coptic alphabet, and its enunciation used to be also. And so, these are at the core of every conscious sacred language system. And so the liturgical practice and knowledge of every tradition contains this. But in India, it has been unbroken. And when the age of Tantra, which started to flower from the 4th century onwards and peaked between, the 9th and 11th centuries, the age of Tantra brought forth from many Hindu kingdoms all over India writings and a surge of interest in really bringing the tantric understanding into the arts and into dance, into music, into theater, and into the texts, and into chanting and transmitting mantras for various personal as well as spiritual purposes. And the more deities we have, then the more opportunities we have to link to different psychic aspects of our own being, as well as to different aspects of universal reality. To go to Kali for dissolution of the ego, but to go to Lord Vishnu when we wish to have our heart energy, we wish to add more of our energy to preserving, like where I am now, in my aging phase, to preserve my body to the extent to which I can still use it for my spiritual work.
Yeah.
So, we have different deities which represent different attributes of universal reality and simultaneously represent different aspects of our own being. So in using these mantras, we are sanctifying our whole being. We are preparing these human temples to really be the resonant instrument of connection. And so the channel of mantra becomes extraordinarily important when used consciously.
Such an important instrument, like you mentioned, to expand ourselves and like an extension of ourselves and to experience this oneness in such diverse ways. Like you said, I love that about in Indian tradition, that there's a mantra for everything, and that I can have this possibility to use this as a powerful tool to reconnect and to explore this microcosmos connected to the macrocosmos.
Yes. And every tradition has it. We must not forget that. It's simply that, yoga has become so prominent among the seekers in the West who are looking to the East, and also those who first discover yoga as fitness, which also is a big aspect of Hatha Yoga, is preparing the body to be as fit as possible so that it can be a divine instrument for consciousness. Yeah. So, it doesn't matter what it is that originally brings us to yoga. The key thing is, once we are in the stream of yoga as well as in the stream of devotional music of India, because the Krishna Das or because there was a little, kirtan, a chant in the yoga studio, it doesn't matter what brings us. But once we're in, of course our interest will deepen and we want to know more and we want to experience more.
Yes.
And so on the path of bhakti, for kirtan in North India and in South India, we use the word bhajan more, bhajana. So bhajan means to adore, and kirtan means a composition. So to sing the glories of the divine, again, the diversity, the oneness, which is always manifesting as diversity. So it's important to remember that all of the deity songs, whether we sing to Rama or Krishna or to Kali or Durga, we are invoking, again, that sacred connection to all of reality. Kind of like in physics, we have the hologram principle where if you're able to view, one part of something, then it gives you the characteristics of the whole. Just like a raindrop, if you examine it for content, you're going to find the content of water, HOH, the H2O, the bonds, the links and bonds, chemical bonds will be there in whether it's a drop of water from rain or a drop of water from a river. So it's like that whole holographic consciousness.
Like a fractal of the whole, right?
Yeah, like a fractal, exactly, a fractal. Yeah, and I've done some research work a long time ago with the fractals as well as with water drops.
Yeah.
As part of my science background. And so I like those examples to bring in so that we have a sense of why it is that mantra or kirtan, what is it that they do? They quieten the chatter of the mind, the background chattering, the random thinking that is such an unconscious nature of mind starts to quieten down, starts to get channeled towards the mantra, and therefore either towards the deity or towards the sound itself or towards the breath, towards the volume, or if you're singing, then just the sheer beauty of the tones and the ragas and the instruments and the voices. So quietening that background chatter then provides an opportunity for the mind to be able to experience its own nature, so that we can, even for moments, be able to quieten those brain waves too. The chattering brain waves, which we call the beta state of brain waves, can come into the alpha, which is a quieter, more alert and aware state, where it's possible for us to visualize and have an intention to make a difference in my life. What can I do to make a difference in my life? How can I use a mantra or a song, like, whether a simple chant like Namah Shivayam, 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 Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Use nine or one mantra, and what it starts to do, immediately the chattering mind gets calm, the emotions come back into withdrawal, our limbic system, which is really our emotional mind, starts to quieten down. Those brain signals of heavy emotion all start to quieten down. We can come quicker into a space of equilibrium within ourselves, which is so vital on the path of yoga, so that we can start to practice that vairagya, the detachment from the clinging to, oh, am I thinking about this now? I have to get that done now. Oh, that person really bothered me today in yoga class. Or, why are they singing so loudly? And, all the things all around us. Yeah, to come into equilibrium. And in that equilibrium and the start of that vairagya, the start of detaching ourselves from clinging to the feminine world, because that is the path of yoga, is completely detaching.
Yes.
But we have to start somewhere. That's why the Yoga Sutras give us tools of apara and para vairagya. Apara is more a beginning level, temporary type of detachment. Maybe while we're singing one song, we are detached from doing anything else. Or while we're chanting a mantra to Lord Shiva or Kali, then for those 5 minutes or 10 minutes, our mind is quietly in an alert way focused on the mantra. So that would be called more apara vairagya. It's a material level detachment. But gradually these practices take us, along with asana and pranayama and mantra and kirtan and walking and running and watching the mind quietly in meditation. All of these will take us to a more sustained detachment, paravairagya, transcendental detachment. And the paravairagya is kaivalya, that is yogic liberation.
Yeah.
Being only the seer, the witness consciousness.
The witness of the experience.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing that, and beautifully said. And I wanted to share with you, also for me, when I chant, I feel like always connecting from the heart space, and I always feel it's such an expansion of my heart space, and through these vibrations is where I feel like this oneness and this expansion. So I feel for me it's such a devotional and heart focused practice as well, right? So I feel
yes. So bhakti yoga is the surrendering of our little self, to the deity or to the music or to the teacher or to the practice. And so that devotion, which comes only from, humility and surrender, and which is such an integral part of our nature.
Yes.
This is all these
who we are, yes.
attributes
Our
of our
essence.
nature.
Yes.
Yes.
Just sometimes we forget.
Yeah. But when we live in this dualistic, more competitive material world, we forget those parts of ourselves. So this is the beauty of what these kinds of practices, through the bhakti yoga practice of bhajan, kirtan, mantra, we are automatically brought back to that part of our nature which is always there. It just doesn't get tapped often enough.
Yes, completely.
And when we feel that in a group, that collective engagement with bhakti is very powerful.
Totally. In a group scenario, it completely re-enhances the experience as we're all sharing and connected with the same intention.
For us, as a family, for us, we've been on the path of Amma, this amazing global humanitarian teacher from India. And our path of bhakti very much includes kirtan and mantra, bhajans. And so, I want to share one little song with you that...
Yes, please.
we as a family were very inspired to learn many years ago in the early 90s. This honors the Divine Mother of the Universe. And it says in Tamil, you who are the Mother of the Universe. Yeah, you who are the Mother of the Universe. There's nothing more to say beyond that. So, yeah. Amma, Amma, yeah. Akhilandeshwari niye. Annapurneshwari taye. Oh, Adi Parashakti niye. Amma, Amma, Amma taye. Akhilandeshwari niye. Annapurneshwari taye. Oh, Adi Parashakti niye. Oh, Adi Parashakti niye. Oh, Adi Parashakti niye. Oh, Adi Parashakti niye. Amma, Amma, Amma taye. Amma, Amma taye. You who are the transcendental, ultimate power of the universe.
Beautiful.
Transcendental Shakti, the feminine force. You who are all that. And this is the core of what yoga brings to us, is simultaneously we can link to that transcendental reality, knowing that anything we think of ourselves or anything others think of us is always too limited. We are beyond all limitation, beyond all names, beyond all forms. And so when we can sing of that, keeping a human embodiment, a teacher like Amma, in our minds, or when we can keep a deity in our minds, or we can keep the divine light in the heart. You were talking about how your heart opens to all this. Just keeping a soft glow of, golden light in the heart as we sing and radiate that in all directions. So we can more and more begin to experience the self within us expanding, connecting, just reaching out in the bliss of who we are.
Thank you, SREEDEVI. And thank you for enlightening us with these teachings, for giving us this perspective that is deep, that we can access throughout these tools to really connect to the practice of yoga in a much more wider and broad perspective of what yoga is, right? And just not only the simple workout or physical form, like you said, that prepares us, prepares our mind, prepares our body for the deep work, for this deeper connection.
Yes. And that's why in the 8 limbs of yoga, as we proceed from asana and pranayama and pratyahara, going then into the subtle limbs of yoga, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, is a stepwise preparation. So the gross level of our consciousness, which is more our sensory mind, starts to get trained and awakened to then work with our egoic mind or ahankara, so that we discover a lot about how we relate ourselves. How do I relate to me? because we know so little about our own minds, and we learn more about ourselves through others, which is why we're in so much. We need relationship in order to find out about ourselves. And then we move into buddhi, or the faculty of discernment. So yoga is about preparing us on our journey to move from sensory mind, manas, into purification of the egoic mind, ahankara, then to leave all of that to embrace the buddhi of discernment, which then takes us beyond mind into samadhi. So the established state of samadhi, where we can engage with the world from a state of complete detachment, from that paravairagya, then whether we sing a song or we engage with the mantra mentally or verbally, all of it, the practices themselves don't matter anymore, but it is the essence of all these practices that are taking us on this journey. And yes, you're right, we need more authentic and deeper teachings, and to keep in mind this tantric worldview of balancing the sacred masculine and sacred feminine principles in each one of us, the Shiva and Shakti within ourselves. And so often,
perhaps if you could share us a little bit about that, because I know this is one of your passions to share this teaching. So I would love to hear what you have to.
Yes, because Shiva being the principle of pure consciousness, that which is, we might call it more the static aspect of reality, though we know nothing is really static and nothing is really dynamic. Everything is always one. But it's the ability of our minds to engage with the world in a dualistic way, because that's how we are hardwired. This is why we have two hemispheres of the brain and why our bodies are symmetrical, so that the right half of our body then in tantric yoga is considered our masculine side, and the left half of the body is considered our feminine side. And so the right half is more the solar principle, and the left half is more the lunar principle. So the whole subtle anatomy of the nadis, or the yogic channels too, can be thought of as solar and lunar, or masculine and feminine, not to be confused with the gender of the body as such. These are polarized principles that are essential to life itself, electromagnetic principles. Just as a magnet has a north pole and a south pole, and an electric current has a plus or a minus. So this is about the solar nadi on the right side of the spine, and then is the pingala, or the activating solar, or the male principle. And on the left side, the left channel next to the central channel is called the Ida, or the lunar channel, in the cooling side. And this through the cerebrospinal fluid is called the Sushumna, which brings about the equilibrium between both. And so the separation and witnessing and experiencing reality as dualistic is our inherent nature. And Tantric Yoga acknowledges that and honors that as the polarities of existence.
Yes.
So it starts with small things, such as being able to maintain our equilibrium whether we feel hot or whether we feel cold, or to observe how we can maintain equilibrium whether we feel sad or whether we feel angry. So the polarities of our emotions and feelings and sensations are built in to the cosmology of yoga and into the step ladder of what we call Sankhya cosmology that yoga uses, which is a dualistic step. A step ladder has to have two strong supports for you to have the steps on it. And then we have to be able to kick away the step ladder when we're done with it. So Tantra gives us the tools to acknowledge and accept the polarities of emotion, of existence, of our minds, of our outlooks, of our worldviews, of our habits, and then to transcend them.
Yes.
To go into the core of them and transcend them. The Shiva-Shakti principles, or the sacred masculine, feminine principles, to be acknowledged and harnessed in order for us to work with these polarities. When I was young, I remember when as children, when we would be very angry about something with our parents, my father would go to the garden and say, "Come on, we're going to sing to Shiva now." And so we would go into song, or we would, he would guide us through a cooling pranayama, and so or we would run very fast around the block and sit under a tree and start chanting ah, and om. So there would be an intervention with the yogic practice in order to break up the chaos and the complete unconscious engagement with the runaway emotion, with the runaway reaction to life. So this is part of how these practices help us. And mantra and kirtan are essential tools that can interrupt our normal unconscious patterns. And that is true whether it might be kind of an addiction to a substance or to a way of thinking, or if it be a brooding, and a depressed state, or if it be a highly agitated, restless mind. It doesn't matter what are the temperaments. The three major temperaments are called the three gunas in yoga: tamas, rajas, and sattva, moving from inertia into activation and then into more the harmonious, luminous principle. All of these three temperaments are interplaying and working with the scaffolding of yoga through Sankhya, and then we kick off the step ladder. Well, then these three gunas no longer have any hold over us. We become gunatita, beyond the hold of the gunas, where we can go into kaivalya or yogic liberation, which is what ultimately Om represents, being that resonant power of sound, and what we call Nada Yoga, the yoga of the inner sound. That's another big aspect of using mantra and kirtan, is to attune ourselves to the inner sound, whether it's be the sound of our heartbeat, the sound of our breath, just the sound of fluids moving through the body. And gradually we become more and more tuned to even finer and finer sounds that you can hear when you close your ear, your ears, for instance. There's inner sounds that will start to activate. So there is this whole aspect of awareness connected with sound.
Beautiful. Yes, this invitation also to start observing this, right? I think, as you said, it starts with this awareness, even if it's a glimpse of a moment that we are able to tap into our own inner nature and calm down all these
vrittis. That detachment which comes moment by moment, insight. As insight is a good word, contemporary word, and be able to know more about how we know. To know more about how we see, how do I experience. Even a simple question like, how do you know that you're going to feel this way? How do you know that somebody's going to react that way? Where does that knowledge come from? And to simply ask the question, how do we know what we know? So through mantra and kirtan and meditative practices, yoga can bring us to a spacious mind where we can pose these questions as part of self-inquiry, as part of jnana yoga, where the question becomes the contemplation. And so the pause and the silence, we receive answers, and that becomes our insight, and that provides us for the tools for vairagya, or starting that process of detaching from unconscious clinging to all impermanence. It's a step-by-step journey, and why the collective is important is we need one another as support to say, am I doing the right thing? Do you see something making a difference in how I behave towards you? And so we can check in with one another. This is the power of the community, the sangha, that can happen through yoga and the teaching and learning of yoga.
Completely.
And yoga teachers as well as students can travel together in this collective stream.
Such a good invitation, I think, for this moment, Devi, to join in community in our sangha and support each other in this precious time that we're having also right here, right now.
This is on community, through the power of the mother of space itself. She is the cyber mother, connecting us through the web, right? The tantric web.
Yeah.
Tantra, one of the meanings is web, a cosmic web. So here we are in the cyber web. We are connected.
That's why I named my podcast a cosmic frequency, like this frequency to tap into, to connect.
Very nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here as part of your podcast. And Analu, I applaud you for having your dedication to offer this weekly series to the yoga community, all over, wherever people are tuned into podcasts.
Thank you.
It's really a global consciousness, a shared consciousness. And having such podcasts, the coronavirus precautions, makes us all link more consciously as a global yoga community. So I'm very grateful to you for giving us this opportunity for us all to gather and collect.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your heart and all your teachings with everybody. It's, like you mentioned before, such an important moment to tap into our paths of service, of how can we serve one another with our sharings, because we all have all these beautiful gifts to share, and connecting with one another and sharing them with everybody is a beautiful service right now, right?
It is. While we also ourselves do better job taking care of our own needs. Self-care is something that is a huge need, in the more crazy lifestyle of the West, and especially with our consumption of electronic appliances and media, and and I'm at fault too. Either we're constantly looking for new messages or looking at Facebook or what do I have to attend to now online, and so to be able to break away from those kinds of the newer engagements that can also become unconscious.
Thank you, Sudhir.
And become huge distractions. So how to consciously detach from the overuse of media as well, and give ourselves some breaks. Mm-hmm. So while we collectively support one another to be who we are, because without our authentic presence, then the power of yoking, through yoga to connect to this ultimate divine journey cannot happen if we cannot engage from where we are. Yeah. We have to be where we are. And that is constantly changing. Mm-hmm. And it changes in community. We are able to inspire each other and support one another, because the very gift of being, the very gift of our presence is the ultimate gift. And so may we continue to have this inspiration. And in that vein, I want to share a Sanskrit verse from the Upanishads, which talks about the giving and sharing. It is aimed at teachers and students in the old ashram days of, say, 1000 BC or so. Mm-hmm. But it's very valid in every yoga studio and in every yoga community. Let us share in harmony and in peace. Let us dissolve any conflicts that arise, and let us feel the power of teaching and learning and being in community. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitam Astu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now let us honor This whole journey of yoga is the journey from duality to non-duality, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. Let us chant that sacred verse also, Asatoma.
Can I chant it with you?
Please chant it with me. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And the last one. May all beings in all the realms of consciousness be happy. May all beings everywhere be happy. Lokaha samasta sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samasta sukhino bhavantu. Lokaha samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And finally, the whole transmission of yoga is only possible because of the teachers and the gurus. So we honor all gurus, all the teachers in our lives, in all ages, in all civilizations. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Hari Om Tat Sat.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, I love chanting with you. I haven't done that in 7 years or 8 years. Thank you.
Well, we'll do more. We'll do more.
We'll do more. We'll have to do more. I'll return someday.
You are a very joyous being who is bringing so much of this deeper knowledge and practices of yoga and kirtan to a wide community. So I honor you and offer my blessings for your continuing work.
Oh, thank you, dear teacher. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, it's been such an honor to speak with you, and I would love you also, Shidevi, to share with us the work you're doing right now, because I have so many students and perhaps just practitioners that would love to maybe connect with you and follow your work. So if you want to let us know a little bit of what you're doing right now, that would be great.
My website is a start to go to, shaktiinstitute.com, and also my YouTube channel. There are a few recordings there. There's a lovely short video called The Power of Sacred Sanskrit, and there's another short video on the goddess epic. So the deeper Shakti teachings are what comes from the texts and traditions and the festivals of the goddess in India. And I also like to share about the Upanishads, the sacred dialogues that bring beautiful metaphors and examples and stories and very feisty conversations on the nature of the self. So I'm developing a series of professional videos on some of these topics. I'll be getting ready over the next few months. There's been so much online interest because of the shutdown, and I don't know really how deep and how far this work is going to take me, and I'm just available for what I can do with the time and energy I have. I've also produced a short video on the women mystics of India, from ancient to modern.
Beautiful.
And I will put that also on YouTube soon.
And I'll be sharing all your information also here on the notes of the podcast.
Right. Yeah, because I've gotten more interested in the women's journeys, and not only for myself as a woman from India, transplanted in the West, and how have I over these 40 some years been learning how to transcend both East and West and form really a new identity of a transcultural, if you will, and a religious identity that goes beyond, our initial boundaries of who we are. And my children also have been raised in this, and my daughter Sheila, teaches all the bhajan and kirtans and raga professionally at Naropa University and online. So people can go explore her too at shebrings.com.
I'll definitely share her link as well.
Good. And many of my deity teaching videos will be on her website as part of what she's offering to the public, so that people can get more knowledgeable about the deity teachings and the tantric teachings while they learn more about mantra and kirtan.
And I hope to have you sometime in Costa Rica
Yoga Nidra, that's another about.
And in Bali one day soon have you join me.
Yes. As you know, my clock is ticking. So whatever I can do in the next few years is good. And as the divine allows, and as my teacher Amma's grace, her blessings have been for me to remember that teaching is my sadhana. And also she had said, her work in the world is to establish Shakti in people's hearts, to awaken that powerful, conscious power within ourselves, to experience ourselves as the fullness of who we are. And she said, you can help me in that work in the West.
I love and honor Amma as well. So thank you for sharing your teaching.
So this is all very good. This is all excellent. And people can leave a message on my website if you want more information. I mean, I have handouts and audio teachings on sacred Sanskrit and many other things. So I'm happy to connect with people and assist in giving them some tools.
Thank you.
Or a Facebook message is good also.
Would you like to share with us about the Yoga Nidra that you are working on, that you've been working for so long?
Yes, indeed. So a major guided meditation practice within Tantra Yoga is called Yoga Nidra, or yogic sleep, which is a contemplative practice that is guided, and there is progressive relaxation through the 5 koshas, or the 5 levels of our being, moving our awareness from the physical body and into the senses and into the breath, and then into the emotions, and then going deeper into the visualization of our nervous system, and allowing our monkey mind to come to rest, where we then start to witness really what our mind is doing, and we can begin to work with that awareness of detachment as the witness. So I have some guided video practices of Yoga Nidra. There are, I think, 2 on my YouTube channel right now. And there are more on my Facebook page, SREEDEVI K Bringi. And there's also a short audio track you can download at my website when you go there to register at the website. Yoga Nidra is a wonderful practice to work with the polarities of our being. And so the whole Shiva-Shakti, the balancing of these principles we've been talking about, can happen systematically and progressively within Yoga Nidra, where we are consciously working with the polarities of emotion, of sensation, and of attitudes and vasanas, samskaras, and the bringing in the divine essence into each one of them through awareness, through guided awareness. So I wanted to make sure to tell you about that. And there was Amma who sent me, she sent me in India to go study it in the early 90s, mid 90s. And the Swamiji who initiated me into both beginning and advanced Yoga Nidra and further practice in the Bihar School of Yoga, then blessed me to teach the authentic practice in America to all who seek it from me. And so this is what I've been doing for about 25 years now as a major practice that I guide and teach.
Beautiful. I can't wait to learn more about Yoga Nidra with you. It's a practice I absolutely adore, and it's been so helpful for me in my personal life. And like you said, it does bring that natural balance of this Shiva and the Shakti within. And it's beautiful. Thank you for doing that and for sharing that with us. Thank you.
Sure.
And before I let you go, I would like, if I may, to ask you what is your perspective of what do you feel is a conscious being, and how can we as conscious beings impact our collective?
We are already doing that, and the more of us who can awaken to living consciously, which means something as simple as, I eat a banana and I have to consciously decide what I'm going to do with the peel. And,
yes.
More lately, I have a little willow tree in my garden that has been infected by aphids. And so I am taking banana peels and burying them around the tree. As I found out from my chemistry background, that the chemicals in the banana peel will work on the aphids. So it's the conscious thing about a piece of paper or how much the water is running in the faucet, and what can I do on my part? So
yes.
I have been an avid activist on environmental issues ever since I was a teenager in India, and my master's in chemistry work was on the environmental pollution in the rivers of India, and what we can be doing more over there. And then in America, my master's in atmospheric chemistry was looking at the pollution from coal mines and how they're affecting the forest ecosystems. So this has been a passion for me, and I'm into everything from composting and organic gardening and making our needs simpler by making our wants simpler. I don't need to own even 10 pairs of shoes. I can manage with 5. Well, in India, I manage with 2 pairs. So some of it is, the being able to really cut the Western way of consumerism, which of course in USA is very, very strong, a capitalist economy that is built on more consumerism. And so the degradation that is happening to our mother planet from the perspective of yoga and the sacred roots of yoga has evolved with this environmental awareness, with this link to the sacred that is part of Mother Nature. And the Upanishads and Vedas are full of glorious descriptions. I mean, the deities of the elements and the deities of water, and all the rivers are visualized as the body of Shakti herself, the goddess, and all the mountains are seen as Shiva himself, as the pillars of consciousness. So there's such a sacralization of our linking to the environment that is an essential attitude and outlook within yoga. So if we can start to reclaim this consciously, and in yoga classes and in small yoga communities, there can be projects that have to do with planting trees, or being able to recycle this and recycle that, or be able to assist in people making shifts in their habits of having 24 hours heat and 24 hours air conditioning and 24 hours running water, things that are such luxuries. So awareness like that, or driving, how much should we drive and what type of cars, and how can we get away from that type of lifestyle? So we are lucky to be surrounded by signals all around us that can build this conscious living. So I applaud you for using these themes in your podcast. And so people can awaken to it, and there can be conscious outlets to say, well, here is, can you support this group that is planting a tree for, every child, that graduates, so, little things where even the type of masks right now, what type of masks that can be made that is going to be easier on the environment. Changing our attitudes towards food, particularly the eating of meat. How much of our rainforests have to be destroyed in order to have pasture land, for livestock, and the pollution that comes from the excessive engagement with meat unconsciously. So, food and diet and lifestyle. This is all part of yoga. It's all part of yoking our awareness to the divine, that collective.
Thank you for reminding us that, and thank you for sharing. And it's been such a pleasure to reconnect with you again. I send you all my love. I enjoyed your class so much. I really hope I can see you again. And I'm very happy to share your wisdom also here through this conversation to many other people, so that also many others can benefit like I did from your beautiful teachings, SREEDEVI.
Oh, thank you so much, Analu. I'm so happy to be part of this podcast.
Such a beautiful soul. So thank you again. And to all the listeners, I'll be sharing SREEDEVI's information here so that you can also learn from her and from her beautiful sharings and this beautiful bridge that she is between the East and the West, and how honored we are to have you also on this side of our planet to teach us all this beautiful sacred knowledge. So thank you again. And for the listeners, I hope you enjoyed this beautiful conversation, and I'll be sharing more podcasts with you soon. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaste.
Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame